there's another trailer for the Black Widow, or just Black Widow. I believe this now makes maybe the third trailer. Don't really know how much different material we're going to be introduced to. But there was something I was wanting to try to remember to mention that I saw on Twitter. So I'm going to write a note for myself, because I might forget to mention it. This is the problem. I forget sometimes. To maybe talk about it at the end of this. I believe I've already talked about this before in my other reaction videos to Black Widow, but I wanted to kind of touch on that subject again. So, okay, here we go.
You don't know everything about me. I've lived a lot of lives. Before I was an Avenger. Before I got this family. I made mistakes choosing between what the world wants you to be and who you are.
That was a rough scene, I remember.
We have to go back to where it all started.
Where did you think I was all this time?
We have unfinished business.
My girls are the toughest
Oh,
girls
okay.
in the world.
I thought that was supposed to be her.
I'm sorry. We had our orders and we played our roles.
It wasn't real.
It was real to me.
We're getting a lot more detail here.
To me, you were everything.
Bring her home.
Put your seatbelts on. She's such a mom.
Oh, okay, they completely joined two separate scenes.
One thing's for sure. I'm done running from my past.
July 9th, okay. Finally. I will be experiencing it in theaters. Thank you very much. Okay, I wanted to look at something. There was something here. And this ties into what I wanted to touch on. So, where is it? Okay. I wish I could look at this frame by frame. All right. So, I saw someone on Twitter mention Taskmaster. I kept forgetting this character's name. I believe in the comics it was a guy. But I'm more and more I am starting to think that in this movie they're going to do a gender swap. That's just what I think is going to happen. But I think I've mentioned who I'm going to guess is going to be the person behind this costume. Anyway, the person on Twitter said something about how horrible Taskmaster's outfit was. And then someone else mentioned, I'm paraphrasing, I should just go back and read it, but someone else mentioned, well, because he was talking about like how bulky and gross it was, or whatever, something along those lines. And someone else said, well, how else are they going to cover up the fact that it's a woman in the costume? And I had mentioned, I think maybe it was the second trailer I saw, that it seemed to me that Taskmaster was moving like a girl, and that I wondered if it was a girl. And then at some point, I don't remember if it was before I saw that or after I saw, maybe after, at some point, I had heard that the character, I don't know much about the Black Widow comics. I'm not really deep into that. I know of her character. I've known of her character for a while, but never really fully knew her backstory and all the other characters intertwined with her. But I had heard that the character that Rachel Weisz plays ends up being a traitor. So I can't remember if it was my brother Tim or if it was me that mentioned that she might be the one behind Taskmaster. And I was trying to see if it was going to, like, what caught my attention here in this scene was that when the hands were pulling the hood back or whatever, like, I guess, revealing the costume, I get the feeling that this costume is maybe like on a stand or mannequin or something, and the person is just kind of pulling the clothing off or whatever to reveal the costume, and that this person back here in the background is the person that's in the Taskmaster. That this person is Taskmaster. That's just my guess. I was just trying to see if I was inaccurate in my initial impression that it was female arms behind this mask, and it is. It really looks to me like it is, but I can't quite tell. Obviously, if this is Rachel Weisz, I don't know. And this is all speculation. I might be completely wrong. There might be a totally different character that we're going to see in this film that ends up being Taskmaster. I'm just curious to solve this mystery. I'm curious to see if my guesses were right or wrong. I like to make guesses about what I think is going to happen. A lot of times I'm right. A lot of times I'm not right. But I guess we'll find out. I mean, it would make sense that not really, because I think gender swaps are dumb, but it would make sense with regard to this movie if that this character would be a female, because this is pretty much an all-female sort of action movie. And I hope it will be done in such a way that it's entertaining and not over-the-top ridiculous. There were some scenes that happened in Endgame that just made me... I loved Endgame more than Infinity War, actually. But there was at least a scene or two that happened in there that just made me cringe and roll my eyes. I couldn't. It was just so ridiculous. It was a scene where I think it was Captain Marvel had to carry the gauntlet or had to carry something somewhere across the battlefield, and all the girls are like, she'll have... Or someone said, can she make it all the way over there? And all the girls clamor around. They're like, she'll have help. You're girl power. And it was just so cringy because it made no sense. It made no sense with regard to what was happening in that moment, because all these people, they were spread out so far across the battlefield, and all of a sudden they just magically came to this one place. They're going to go and do this girl power march across the battlefield. And I don't like that pandering stuff when it comes to that sort of narrative going on in movies. I'm sure it appeals to some females who have that sort of mentality, you know, the whole feminist outlook on things and girl power and stuff, but that does not work for me. Consequently, well, not consequently, but alternatively, one of the reasons that I love what has been done with Wonder Woman on screen so much is that she is not like that. Not really, not over the top at all. There were a couple lines in the Zack Snyder Justice League that I felt were a little cringy, but as a whole, her character, she was just a badass warrior, and it did not matter that she was female. She was just so freaking cool what he did with her. And in the first Wonder Woman, I think Zack had a hand in that to some degree, but she was just so well written, and I loved that about the live action Wonder Woman. And I hope that Wonder Woman 3 won't regress into any sort of nonsense like what is a huge turnoff for me personally as a woman. I don't appreciate that we have to be told that this character is a woman and girl power and all of this and all these silly little narrative things that get thrown into a lot of movies these days. It's just I hope this movie doesn't go there. I'm not getting the sense that it will, but I'm more interested in Black Widow, honestly, than I initially thought I would be when I found out years ago that they were eventually going to do, or when there was talk years ago of a Black Widow movie coming out. And at the time, I was not crazy about her. It was mostly because Scarlett Johansson was kind of, there were, in her appearance in some of the earlier movies she was in, was just kind of, it was just kind of it did not mesh well with me. I didn't care too much for it, but it wasn't until like Endgame, maybe Infinity War it started a little bit, but then in Endgame, I really finally started to warm to her character. And it's not her character, because her character's pretty badass and cool, but it was like just the actress's portrayal of her. And so then when she, it was like I mentioned in some of my videos that it wasn't until her character died that I actually started to like her character all right. But after Endgame, that made me really curious to see this movie and more excited for it than I had anticipated I would be. It's a real bummer that they're finally coming out with this now after a character's dead. It really feels like, as I'm pretty sure I mentioned in at least one of my other videos, it really feels like this is something that should have happened a long time ago, before her death, in the series, and even before that ridiculous female-led Marvel movie we were given in the form of Captain Marvel. This should have been first. I think they really had a big misstep when it came to that, and it's a shame, because I don't think Captain Marvel has really added much to this series, but Black Widow has been around. She's been deeply integrated into the MCU, and it just would have made sense to give her a movie first. But oh well, it is what it is. I'm hoping this is going to be good. I think this is going to be one of the few Marvel movies that I'm actually strongly looking forward to. I'm not real hyped up about a lot of the upcoming Marvel movies that we've been told about. I'm not even really looking forward to Thor: Love and Thunder, because I'm not really on board with where it looks like the MCU is going with a lot of this stuff. And so I've said before, I feel like the best days of the MCU are behind it. I think Endgame was kind of the peak, and I think it's going to be kind of downhill from there. There may be a few little, little spikes here and there in the form of some movies, but as a whole, I just think that the franchise has seen its best days, and unfortunately, but they've given us a lot of films that we can continue to enjoy forever and ever, and I love that. And with the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League a couple weeks ago, now we have this awesome collection of DC movies that I love even more. Anyway, okay, well, that has nothing to do with this. It's just kind of like comic book movies, superhero movies in general. And okay, well, this was a fun trailer. Feels like July's, let's see, what's today? April, May. Yeah, like 3 more months before it's going to come out. But I'll be seeing it in theaters, probably early on. And okay, I don't have anything else, you guys. Adios.